Okay, great. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, I'm Susan Harden with AGS. I'm going to be your presenter today. Oh, my hair looks a little crazy. So again, welcome. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so talking about who AGS Prime is, a little bit about what we do and how we do it, and then we're going to talk specifically about strengthening community colleges and our pre-built compliant application for that we are making available to grantees. So we're going to spend the next 30-ish minutes or so doing that. This recording will be available and emailed out afterwards. Maybe it might take a 24-hour cycle to get that done. Feel free to review it, share it, whatever you want to do, but that will be sent out to you as well. So without further ado, then you've had a chance to kind of look at this screen, some samples of, some of our, current customers who are working with us on a variety of different projects. Today, we're going to spend a little time, as I said, talking about Prime, talking a little bit about AGS. I want to spend some time, most of the time will be in a live walkthrough, sort of a jog through maybe even of AGS Prime, the SCC application template, where we'll look at what that template looks like, how to run reports, what does the data entry look like. Everybody's seen forms and fields, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time digging into individual fields, but you'll get the idea when you leave here today. And then we'll talk a little bit about what does it look like to implement AGS Prime. If it's always a question, how monumental is this exercise, or how easy is it? So we'll just kind of touch on that so you can come away with an understanding of what that looks like. And that's what we're going to do. So if that's what you thought you were going to do today, you are in the right place. If not, I won't take it personally if you need to leave. So thank you very much. So continuing on, then, I'm not going to read these slides to you. In the go-to training control panel, you should have access to this material, this PDF as a download. Feel free to grab it. I think this will also be emailed to you automatically from go-to training afterwards. So if you don't want to grab it now, that's perfectly fine. But AGS Prime is a no-code platform as a service. It's a new class of software. We've all experienced SaaSes or SaaSes, right? Where it's subscription-based software. We all use, QuickBooks or Salesforce or, a million other, types of tools like that. And Prime is a platform as a service, which is a no-code platform for our customers to be able to subscribe to the platform and build their own applications if they want to. So that's in a nutshell what AGS Prime is. We take it one step further, and we have used Prime ourselves as Prime experts, as you can imagine, since we built it as a commercial product. We have used Prime to configure or build out pre-built compliant templates or applications, if you will, for a variety of different types of federal grants. We've been doing this for years, going back to TACT grants, the slew of H-1B grants for Tech Hire and SWIFFY and America's Promise, to the newer rounds of H-1B grants for scaling apprenticeship, closing the skills gap, One Workforce, rural healthcare, Apprenticeship Building America as an apprenticeship grant, career dislocated worker grants, and the EDA Good Jobs Challenge grants. We have a sort of a stable of these pre-built applications, and now we are, putting out a pre-built compliant application for strengthening community colleges. As you can see, we really focus for these grants on record level data for, especially for the Pearl compliant WIPS requirements for these grants. All of the grants include participant tracking, obviously, as well as an employer module for tracking your employers. For some of the grants, they're looking for employer engagement dates. job openings and job placements. And for you, you can use it as an integrated CRM, should you want to, for projects where there is no federal reporting, but that's just a nice to have in one application. Reporting capabilities, yeah, primarily folks come to us for, what is WIPS? How do we handle WIPS reporting? And so these projects really give you these pre-built templates that has one foot on the side of the line that says, I need to be compliant with my federal reporting for WIPS or EDA or whatever the case may be. But the other foot's on the other side of the line that says, yes, but I also need some flexibility to run my own reports for my own internal analytics. And so we have these applications that really give you the ability to do both. So with that said, I really kind of jogged through all of that pretty quickly. I want to jump over to our live presentation now. And pardon me, I do have a cough drop. I've been struggling with a little bit of a cough, so I apologize if you're hearing that clicking. But let me jump over to this application. So this is my template. So there's no live data here, obviously, for our Strengthening Community Colleges application. And this is a model from which all of our other grant templates that I've just mentioned really looks like. So it's very easy for our customers who might have more than one grant, for example, to have more than one application for different grants if they don't want to have those commingled, and they typically don't. This is very easy for staff to work among these different grants. So what we're seeing here then is the name of the application in the upper left-hand corner, a menu across the top of options. We call these modules. So we have home, our participant management module. I'm just going to click here. We'll come back to this in a little bit, where all of our participant data resides, our students or apprentices, as the case may be, our employer management module, that integrated CRM that I was referring to. We have a self-registration module, should you want to be able to leverage self-registration, which is very common amongst our customers, not everybody, but most of our customers like to leverage some type of initial data entry that comes from a potential participant, and then that data comes into a centralized database from which they can begin to implement workflow, data reviewing and assignment, and not have all of that initial data being staff data entered, for example. Oops. And then of course we have, And then of course we have our administrative module, where under the hood configuration control takes place, where the application administrators are going to be able to do some buffing and polishing for your application. So I train you on how to do that. So you have a series of different catalogs over here in your navigation panel for services catalogs and resources and training and logging credential catalogs and ONETs. Essentially, as administrators, you're pre-filling drop-down fields so that your staff can just pick from fields and not have to do keystroking based on your grant. And every one of our customers, in different parts of the country have different types of things that they're really focusing on. So even though it's a pre-built compliant application for a grant, you can still color outside the lines specific to your demographics, your certs, your ONETs, your services, et cetera, to meet your own needs while staying compliant for federal reporting. And then, of course, reports, right? Always a big deal. So let me kind of start here, if I may. That's kind of the overview of the application, kind of what it looks like. From reports, we always provide what we call a code book. And the code book gives you the ability, this in my demo, I see our superset of all the code books. It gives you the ability to see how AGS Prime, for example, is handling your H-1B WIPS reporting. So every data element, every field that is required for your WIPS report is documented here. This is really just a documentation place for you to be able to see what is required for this reporting and how is Prime handling it. So we take this information at the top, what does the Pearl say? And then how is Prime handling it? So as Pearl subject matter experts, if you will, we try to convey this information to you about what Prime is doing in a more easily, more digestible fashion than working with that very large, a little bit difficult to read sometimes spreadsheet. So we just kind of boil it down and make it easy, hopefully a little easier for our customers to work with. So we always have the code book. Let me scratch out of that. We always have our a series of dashboard reports, visual reports, and we always provide just some starter visual reports. We also train you to build your own reports. So if you need additional visual reports that you want to have built, that you want to build yourself, that is to say, to provide more of the story that you want to tell to your FPO or include as augment reports to your QNR or use for the next proposal to the next funder for another project that you want to get funded and you want to be able to demonstrate your efficacy. This is where you can, where you can do that. So we always provide some sort of starter reports, if you will. They're live reports and they're running against your real data. The services dashboard report, we have our parameters built in right up here. In my demo system, I only have a handful of customers. So we're seeing, just some our services by date, by organization. We allow you to keep track of costs. Again, just sort of a visual. The demographics dashboard, again, from our almost 24 years of experience in the industry and with working with these kinds of grants and working with projects for workforce and education and training type projects and federal grants, we have a sense of the kinds of things that you want to be able to see and report on. So we always try to provide some starting points for that. So in this demographics dashboard, for example, we have this slider. Again, I only have 4 customers, but it gives you the ability to kind of manipulate the data. We've just broken down sort of the basic demographics with some pie charts. Everybody loves a picture. And these visual reports are also built to give you a sense of the kind of different types of visual reports you can create. And all we've done is created, a half a dozen or more individual reports. These are all individual reports, data visualizations, that then we put onto, literally drug onto a page and called it a dashboard. That's exactly what you can do in this no-code environment. So that's sort of a sample of some of our reports. I'm going to jump over to a different template and run a WIPS report. But I don't have this WIPS report in my other demo site. That's just the truth. So here's this WIPS report so you can see how we are handling Perl-based WIPS reporting for this grant. We have our parameter. We're going to launch the apprenticeship WIPS file. We're going to select our grant. In this case, it's an ABA. And we're going to select the calendar year, the calendar quarter. I'll just pick what will now be the current reporting quarter. Do I want to include a header line? I'll say yes, just for demo purposes today. If you were really running this to submit to the feds, you would never include a header. But for those of you who have worked with WIPS-based projects before, you know that WIPS data is really good data. It's really yummy. It tells a lot of good information. So we want to make it easy for you to leverage that WIPS data and be able to have headers, should you want to, but never when you submit to the feds. But for today, I'm going to say yes, include the header. We also give you a last best error checking file before you submit a WIPS file out of Prime over to the feds. We do have on field and between forms error checking that goes on live, which I'll demonstrate right after this, so that the data entry is clean and done correctly based on the rules right up front. There are just some business rules that we can't catch on data entry because not every WIPS reporting field is a direct data enter field. Some of those fields for WIPS reporting are computed. So we can only check those errors when we run a WIPS file. So this last best error file report that we provide for you is going to check if there's any computational errors throughout your data. For today, I'm going to say yes, ignore my error file. I'm pretty sure I've got some errors, and I don't want to waste your time with that. Pardon me. So I'm going to say yes, ignore the error file, meaning show me a WIPS report. And I'm going to leave my defaults for I don't want any additional fields, and I want all staff organizations. I'm going to go ahead and run this report. And let's see my WIPS file with any luck at all. This demo site runs. Let me drag this over from my other monitor. And here's my WIPS report. As you can see, I've included the headers. Oops. And I only have a handful of customers again. But again, just to give you a visual, I'll make this a little bigger. So you can see that we, in fact, are running a WIPS report. It is exactly what this grant is looking for in the order that it is looking for, with all of the requisite aliases that are required for this report, all the way over to CX. So that's what all of our customers do for all of these grants when it comes to running their WIPS report out of their AGS Prime system for whichever grant they're running. It always looks just like that. Go back over here. We always provide, in my Strengthening Community Colleges demo, we always provide a pre-set list of queries. So we have pre-built, and we always provide a pre-built list of queries for these grants, which gives you the ability to download all of your data whenever you want to. Every field from every form is exportable to your environment. So we never want you to feel like, we have you over a barrel for your data. We simply host your data. It's your data. So we have a series of pre-built queries. We also pre-build one for every data set or form, that is to say. We have a handful of pre-built queries that are, I'll use the word joins, which is a term from, if you're using Excel, we use the word references. So we're referencing one data set to another, and really building that sort of stitched data, if you will. So you can say, who came in the door, who looked like this, who was enrolled in this program, who received this kind of training and credentials, got a job, and walked out the door. And what does that look like? And did we do what we said we were going to do? So we help you stitch all that together with some of these additional reports. For those of you, again, who are familiar with some of these grants and you're requested for semi-annual data for Mathematica, we always include a Mathematica query as well, based on what Mathematica is looking for, so you don't have to worry about providing that or building that. And you can build all of your own queries in addition to the starters that we have here. So what does this look like if I just run a quick query? For all of my participant data, it just downloads, in this case, all of the data from my participant demographics form. So if you want to use this for queries, for emails, if you have an email system where you're doing mass emails like engage by cell, or for messaging or constant contact or something else, this gives you all of that data from the profile record. So I just wanted to give you a quick idea what that means to have a query and to export data. Everything is dumped out as a CSV file natively read by Excel. So there's no proprietary hardware or software needed to use AGS Prime. So on that note, let me just say a couple of things. All of our customers are hosted on Amazon Web Services, AWS, bringing all of our customers the security benefits that Amazon provides as a platform. All of our customers have their own dedicated virtualized web server, so there is no commingling of data amongst our customers. Everyone has their own domain name, therefore your own unique IP address. We are what's considered a single tenant environment. There are other tools out there. Everybody knows Salesforce, so I'll just mention Salesforce. They are considered a multi-tenant environment. Um, we have always provided these segregated environments, which is particularly important for these kinds of grants where you are required to manage PII, and you have to manage PII in a very secure fashion. So we have been vetted scores and scores and scores of times over the years, and our architecture and our approach to managing these projects and these databases has always met the mark. So I just wanted to say a little bit about that. In the application itself, in your Strengthening Community Colleges application, you have application users, and your users are assigned to one or more user roles, and those user roles define what each of your users can see or not see. I've logged in as an administrator, so I see the admin module, and I see all of the participant data in participant management. Your end users from your staff data entry organizations, if I can use that term, when they log in, they will only see data from their organization. So that's what we refer to as, and you might want to write this down, organization level security. So that if I log into the application, not as an application administrator, and I am assigned to my staff credentials or assigned to staff organization 1, for example, I'm only going to see Buddy Holly because he's the only participant from staff organization 1 who's in the application. So I'll only be able to work with him and any other participant that my colleagues from staff organization 1 have entered. As an administrator, oops, I'm sorry, that was not what I meant to do. As an administrator, I always see all of the users. If I log in and I belong to staff organization 2, I'll see these 2 records. I won't see staff organization 1's records, and they won't see my records. So we have these multiple levels of security and privacy within the architecture itself for staff users and within Amazon Web Services as a hosting architecture for our customers. So lots and lots of details about that we can go into if you wanted to get back together with me on a separate call, but just kind of lay some of those basics out there that people always want to be able to know about, right up front. So with that said, let's just play with, let me reset this view so I can kind of see everybody. And I'm going to pick on Buddy Holly so you can at least get a sense of what it looks like in a participant's case folder. So this is very much a case folder business process that we are trying to support. Humans helping humans. So Buddy Holly, this is his participant case folder. So this is very synonymous with me, getting up out of my chair, walking over to the file cabinet, opening up the H drawer and pulling out Holly, Buddy, walking back to my desk, opening up his manila file folder or 3-ring binder, however you do it. And I see these paper clipped sections or categories of documents. organized by document category. So we see, and he's an existing customer. We can see he's got a participant profile. He's been enrolled in the grant. He's got a training program process started. He has at least one training that he's enrolled in. He hasn't ended it yet. The end date is open. He's already received an occupational certificate. He's got a couple of measurable skills gains. He's received a couple of services. We can see this sort of subtotal of costs for this participant services. Should you want to keep track of costs are not submitted to the feds. It's just something we always provide to our customers. We can track his employment, case notes, attachments, the kinds of things that as a case manager you're typically wanting to track. For this grant, we have pre-built forms and fields that are designed to capture the required data, including these kinds of keyword fields where behind the scenes the aliasing maps to what the Pearl requires. That's when you saw that WIPS report and you saw all the 1s and 2s and 9s and whatnot. It's because we're mapping all of these human readable values to the aliases. We also include, of course, the help text from the Pearl. We didn't make this up. So veteran status, this all comes from the Pearl. Everybody's favorite, SSN, we have to only include 9s. So you're seeing just this initial data entry process. And this is very similar to what the self-registration form can look like so that it pre-fills these records. So we've got his demographics. That's really the start of all data entry. And then we decide to enroll him in the program. So as you're looking at this and beginning to get familiar with the Pearl for SCC, this should all look very familiar and logical, I might say, where you've got these fields. Again, we keep track of if this is a grant enrollment funded by this grant, and the various fields that you're familiar with or getting familiar with that are required for a person's program enrollment, and the help text that comes with it directly from the Pearl. We're documenting then, once he's enrolled in the grant, we document their training program. So they're enrolled in the program, and now we document the training program, the program of study, if you will, that we're going to put Buddy Holly in. So we can document his training, the training start, that he's enrolled, and then ultimately when he completes, we come back to this form and document the completion and any follow-up here. But we're also able to track the individual classes themselves, those that are grant funded. So we'll track all of the grant funded training classes. So here's an example of on-form business logic. So we can see that because I have this error on this form, my save button is not live. So we're not going to allow you to save this record with bad data. Data program exit is not empty, then this must be filled out. So I have his date of entry, obviously. So here's, now that I've filled this out, I have another conditionally required field. So I'm gonna just put this in here. Nope. No, I don't know what the date of program exit is on his record. So I'm just gonna say no. Let's see if I can figure this out. There we go. Let's see, does that work? Oh. Well, anyway, business logic is a good thing. So I don't know what his exact end date was. But that's a perfect example of how we have business logic built into the forms so that we can't save things and save bad data. So that WIPS reporting, it all feeds to ease of WIPS reporting so that you're not chasing down bad data at the end of the day. That's always our goal. But within the training process, then we also can track our credentials. This application allows you to track as many trainings as is required and as many credentials as is earned. And then we will do the computations for reporting that which is required, and only that which is required for federal reporting. Same thing is true. Let me go back to his case folder. Same thing is true for services. So you can see we have measurable skills gains, and same thing is true for services. So we're going to help you keep track of the services, and this grant is only tracking case management and supportive services. So we're going to keep track of and report to the feds the most recent case management and supportive service per reporting quarter per participant. You, however, based on your standard operating procedures, may want people to track as many services as you can get people to track, because that really helps you understand the level of effort that it really took to move someone like Buddy Holly through this process. And then we will do the computations for only reporting the most recent of either one of those per quarter. But then you will have your reporter, all of your data for your own analytics. Think back to that services dashboard report that I wrote, or that I ran, where you can report on all of those services, from which we will only report the most recent. And of course, you can keep, because it's a case management system, you can keep track of case notes, your employment tracking, very important aspect of this. You can keep track of case notes and attachments here for this particular participant. So that's kind of a quick jog through of what it looks like on the participant data entry process. The employer side very quickly looks very similar, because everything is a case folder. We have our employer profile, demographics of the employer, and none of this data is reported to WIP, so you have a lot of latitude for changing forms, adding and deleting things that you are accustomed to, or the things that you want to be able to track on the employer information that the feds just haven't thought of, or we haven't thought of. You can, you can make those kinds of modifications here. So we have the employer demographics, employer contacts, very straightforward CRM kinds of things, keeping track of employer activities, again, very CRM-like, as well as keeping track of job openings. So if an employer is if an employer has job openings, we can keep track of openings and placements here within this application. So that's a quick run through. I'm going to just jump back really quickly to my screens and wrap this up and keep everybody on time. Feel free to use the chat feature if you've got questions along the way. I'm going to run through these last couple of slides very, very quickly. So again, we really think this is a great value proposition because we have a pre-built app that we keep up to date with the Fed's changes. You can get started very quickly, and we have, almost 24 years worth of experience in deploying these kinds of applications and training and supporting them. Again, the implementation process looks like this. We have a one-page order form, so it's pretty straightforward. You provide us whatever you want for your domain name, susanharden.agsprime.net or whatever that might be. We'll get that set up. That usually takes a couple of days to turn that around through AWS, but not very long. Then we get your application added to it and get that pre-configured for you. We schedule your application administrator training, take you through a couple of application live trainings like this. They're generally about 90 minutes each, where you have some homework, so we come back and review things. And then after you've done your application configuration for some of the things that are specific to your grant, and you feel comfortable with your business process, you're ready to go live. I've seen some customers get through this process in a couple of weeks, seriously, and I've seen some customers take longer because they have more business process issues sort of internally to work through. But from the perspective of AGS Prime, it's a very straightforward well exercised process that we have done many, many times and will support you through the process. We have lots of lessons learned buckets to bring to the table as well to really help you through that process. So bottom line is it's not particularly complex. A little bit about us. We're really known for high tech, high touch. I mean, that's really our thing. Everybody buys software like we do too. So it's really important that you feel like you've got support. You've got a company that knows what they're doing. They understand these kinds of projects, and we have a lot of experience in managing these kinds of grant projects and have a better sense of how to navigate some of the pitfalls and are here to support you throughout the way. Here's my contact information. Little bit of a older picture, I guess. But anyway, thank you all very much. I don't see anything chatted in. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You probably all have my email or phone number by now. I'd love to hear from you. I know this was super quick fire, but I'm happy to get together with you. My job is education, and I'm here to help in any way that we can. So thank you all very much for spending some time with me. I know everybody's super busy. Congratulations on your grant, and I look forward to hearing from you. Take care, everybody. Bye bye. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye bye.